Hi, welcome back. I am so excited you're on this journey. We're on this journey together. If things become a bit unsettling or you're stunned by some of the revelations that have already presented themselves, all I can say is buckle up, because it's going to be an amazing ride. Let me reiterate an important point. You've been programmed to fail financially, and it's not your fault. I will keep hammering this point home because it needs to be said over and over again. Our educational system has failed you. I mean, do you even remember any real financial education in high school or even college that made a difference? Did you learn how to balance a checkbook, or what credit card debt is, and the importance of understanding compounding interest, or anything remotely resembling that from high school? I know I don't, and most people don't either. That's because it's just not taught. It's criminal, in my opinion. Very rarely will you find a person who learned these valuable lessons in school. And unless our parents or teachers did so on their own, we were thrown into the open world out of high school like sheep amidst wolves. It's like spending our entire life away from the water, our last year in high school on a cruise ship, and then the moment we graduate, being tossed overboard. It's the same thing. If no one teaches you how to swim, odds are you won't be able to stay afloat for very long. Sure, you may have some great instincts, but you'll make mistakes, and those mistakes are going to suck water into your lungs. And it won't be long before you're spending the last remaining ounces of energy trying to cough it out before you finally drown. Does that sound an awful lot like your financial life these days? Exhausted? You know, in the previous part of this overview, I asked you if you wanted to continue living the way you've been living. And no, you don't. I know that. But that's why you've probably picked up a few books along the way. Maybe you listened to a few financial experts or attended a seminar that got you all pumped up and inspired. Despite all that, though, nothing has ever seemed to change, right? That's because all that stuff, the tactics, the tools, and the products, what I refer to as below-the-line tools. Let's think about it in terms of learning a sport or even how to play the guitar. You can have a great teacher or coach giving you the best advice and instructions, and you'll likely improve if you practice. For example, if someone can teach you the basic structures of open chords and give you scales to work on or songs to listen to, and even teach you how to read music, sure, you'll get better and better if you practice. But is that going to make you an expert? Probably not. Why? Because if there's no passion for this, if you are learning just because it's something to do, or perhaps it's mom and dad, they forced you to learn to play an instrument, or even you are doing this to impress other people, it will all be rudimentary. There will be no meaning to it, no real value to you at a deep level. I mean, not really, right? When it comes to the below-the-line tools, it's all about the advice, the steps, the guides, the things you follow. And those all have value, don't get me wrong. But what they can't do, what they won't do, is create change. Why? The scientific breakthrough we've discovered at ThrivePath offers the answer. Learning is rooted in your biology. It dictates what, how, and when you learn, and when behaviors can actually change. The overarching framework behind ThrivePath, as I hinted in part 1, is what side of the line you're living on, above or below the line. So let me explain. Above the line is where you're focused on your vision for your life and the mission you're on and what goals you've set out to realize that vision. Below the line are the tools, the tactics, and the strategies that you implement. If you look at any successful person, you will find that they spent and spend most of their time above the line. That's the missing piece on why so many people fail, especially financially. But unfortunately, most people today spend a majority of their time, 90% of their time, below the line. They want the quick fix. They want to know which stock to buy. Should they get into Bitcoin, real estate, or multi-level marketing? Those are all below the line tools. Those things are secondary to your success. And that's what ThrivePath is all about. It's a neurologically based journey specifically designed to address your above the line. The goal being is once you go through the 5 elements and the entire program, Your vision, your mission, and the goals you've set out to accomplish are far more likely to be attained than you trying to do it on your own without this process. You will be ready. Your mind will be in the right place, and you'll be prepared for any endeavor you choose to accomplish. But what we've seen time and time again is that if you don't have the above the line sorted out, and if your mindset is not in line, those below the line tools will never work for you long term. That's the paradigm shift here. That's the missing piece on why so many self-help programs simply do not work. They focus almost exclusively on the symptom, but not the central cause. In other words, they're more focused below the line than they are above the line. Think of that last video you watched on high achievers. Where do you think they spend their time primarily, above or below the line? I can make a strong case that you could take any one of those high achievers and put them in almost any industry and they would thrive. Why? Because they have an entirely different mindset that is almost exclusively above the line. Below the line tools can only help you alter your temporary circumstances at best. For example, I've heard a few stories about people who listened to other financial advisors and they followed their debt repayment strategy to a T. They'd spend 2 years living frugally, pumping every extra dollar they could earn, grabbing a few extra part-time hours every week to pay down their debt in 2 years. Look, it was a great moment, and it was certainly worth celebrating. Absolutely. They felt they were free, and maybe they were for a short period of time. Maybe they had discovered those keys and unlocked that prison cell they were living in. But you know what happens almost every single time when people rely solely on below-the-line tools? They step outside those prison walls. They close their eyes and bask in the warmth of the sun, and they take a deep breath. Can you visualize that? Then all those thoughts about the things they wanted to buy, the things they sacrificed and gave up, the nicer house, the newer car, the flat screen TV, all comes flooding back. They might come out to celebrate their newfound freedom from debt. They get that familiar dopamine hit in their brain, making them feel wonderful once again. And suddenly, before long, they're back on the path to deeper and deeper debt. The worst part is they don't even realize it at the time. They think they've got a great handle on things, but they don't. Thrive Path is focused where you need to be right now, which is above the line. As I said, you can have all the below the line tools in the world, but that's not going to help you transform your life the way you deserve. You will just end up living the way you just don't want to live anymore. Above the line solutions are all about your mission, your purpose, your beliefs, your vision in life, your values, rituals you incorporate, and mentors to help guide you. And once all those things are in line, the world of opportunity will open up to you. The self-realization you'll be going through can and will change everything. Look, it's not about working harder or sacrificing or even hustling to get you where you want to be. It's a change in your mindset. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. It's mindset. It's certainly not intelligence. I can tell you that firsthand. Robert Kiyosaki and many others, including myself, were terrible students. We had terrible exam scores trying to get into college. So don't think you don't have what it takes. I'm telling you, you do. It's in you right now, and we're unlocking and unleashing it right now. Look, I think it's very important for you to realize that you are currently a shell of your future potential self. And what I've seen over the years, most people are mere reflections of what they could and deserve to be. And the old methods, the below the line methods, will not get you where you want to be, and certainly where you deserve to be. And that is the amazing thing about Thrive Path. Why? Because it's rooted in science. It's biology. And of course, I didn't just stumble onto the science that causes transformation, or how the brain can be molded and shaped, no matter how old you are, to create real, genuine change in your life. It was the result of years of frustration working with my clients. No matter what I did or how great the plan was that I developed for them, they would go right back to the same old habits they had before. And they'd be back to that financial pain, worried about the next mortgage payment, hoping they could make it to the next paycheck. And where do you think their mind and overall life, for that matter, was focused? Above or below the line? Yes, for the most part, it was below the line. They were all looking for that hot tip, the quick way out, the Band-Aid to fix that massive wound. Sure, they dreamed about what they wanted, but dreams without effective above-the-line action will go nowhere. Look, you've heard me use this term. When people are living on the financial treadmill and in financial pain, I say they're on Pain Island, right? And living in that place is not their fault, and it's not your fault. And I repeat this often because it bears repeating. People are programmed to fail financially. Just keep this in mind. If you are programmed to fail, you can be programmed to succeed. That's the amazing, uplifting, and riveting reality of all of this. You can turn everything around. You know, I once read a quote that continues to resonate with me to this day. It goes something like this. Every passing moment is another opportunity to turn everything around. Every passing moment is another opportunity to turn everything around. It's uplifting, it's hopeful, and it's inspiring. Sadly, of the millions of people who do try to turn things around financially, most never do. Why? Because those below-the-line tools are all they were exposed to. That's all they're trying to use. They never dug deeper. They never realized they had to. I'll never forget that moment of realization that came to me that one night. I was having dinner with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki and a close friend of mine, J.W. Wilson. He's the executive director of the Learning Code Institute. Over dinner, I shared this frustrating feeling that had been gnawing at me for some time. I said I felt that there was a complete disconnect between what my clients wanted out of life and what they were willing to do for it. I shared with them how I worked so hard at helping my clients. I honestly felt I cared more about my clients than they did. We would map out a plan as we discussed, and they knew what they needed to do, and I gave them all the information they needed. I showed them the graphs, the charts, the financial plans, and how if they continued to live on this path, they were headed for big trouble down the road. But it didn't seem to be clicking with any of them. They'd show their concerns, sure. They'd tell me they're ready to make the necessary changes. But in the end, they'd just leave and go back to the same old habits, doing the same things, the way they were doing them before. And I'm sure you've heard the famous Einstein quote, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result." Does that sound familiar? Do you feel like so many times you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something to be different this time around, but it never changes? Well, at that dinner, I kept complaining about it. And that's that profound moment I had. And that's when JW leaned over and said to me, in barely a whisper, he said, "John, that old way of trying to change people by telling them what to do and what not to do isn't working, because information does not cause transformation." And that floored me. That was the revolutionary moment of my life, or certainly one of them. Those 5 simple words stopped me in mid-thought. I knew right away that was exactly what I was doing, just giving information. I was trying to help my clients transform their lives, but all I was giving them were graphs, charts, tactics, and a few tools. That's like handing a couple of wrenches and screwdrivers to somebody whose car has broken down on the side of the road and telling them to fix it. Information is not going to make a difference, certainly not by itself. And let me be honest here, if information was all we needed, we would all be rich, skinny, and happy, right? Look, we all live in the information age. No other age in history comes even close. We have access to almost an infinite supply of information at our fingertips, right there on our smartphone and laptop, and it's free. Information doubles at an insane rate now, and it's only getting faster. But all that information doesn't amount to a hill of beans by itself. As I began to delve into the science of change, the discoveries that hit me were earth-shattering. They were life-altering, inspiring, and stunning. The brain is amazing. It's the most phenomenal creation in the known universe. Nothing even comes close. And that phrase, "you can't teach an old dog new tricks," is complete garbage. You can. No matter how old you are, you can change. Why? Because your brain is wired for it. That's why we need both above-the-line solutions and below-the-line tools. But first, in order for the below-the-line tools to be of any value, we must first focus above the line. These are the things that matter most to us: our mission, our vision, our values, and our beliefs. After that conversation and the comment by JW, that's when Thrive Path was born. We discovered a revolution in financial guidance, health, and help. And this new revolution is rooted in neurological science. What you are embarking on here is not based on opinions. It's not based on ideas. It is rooted in science. It is factual. And if you follow this course throughout, take part in the activities, and are diligent to follow what I offer and how I guide you, you won't be able to avoid transformation. It will happen. I promise you. And that transformation is going to lead you to a place where you're truly happy to be living the way you are living, because you'll be living the life you honestly desire. All right, let's pause for an activity. Remember, these activities are specifically designed to cause you to think about your life introspectively. You need to dig deep here and really contemplate things. So let's get into it. This next video is titled Finding Your Meaning in Life, and I absolutely love this one. It's only 4 minutes long, but it is extremely powerful if you pay close attention and really think about the message. In element 2, we're going to take a deep dive into your personal meaning and uncover what is deeply meaningful to you at your core. And this video not only sets up that element perfectly, but this video is meant to get you thinking about the direction in your life and where you want to be, what you are doing versus what you want, and how you envision it unfolding. When you're done, just like the last video, I want you to take 15 to 20 minutes and jot down your thoughts on what you just saw and heard. And I want you to answer the following questions. And please be honest with yourself. It's extremely important. So here you go. Do you believe you are capable of making the changes you need to make? If so, why? And if not, why not? If you could describe yourself today in one word or a simple phrase, what would that be? And if you could describe your future self in one word or a simple phrase, what would that be? And I want you to contemplate the difference between those two answers and ask yourself, why are they so different? So here are a few more. How would you really enjoy spending your life? And lastly, ponder this. Are you going to go to your grave with your greatness still in you? Feel free to write down anything else you're thinking about, what that video brought to light, what did it make you think about, what memories it brought out, and what are you thinking at the moment. Take your time on this and really slow think this one, because it's extremely powerful. All right, that's it for now. Hit the link and get started. I'm just super excited for you. Let's do this, and let's do this together. I'll see you in part 3, the cycle of transformation. Upward and onward. Take care.